Hello, my name is Carla Maria Plata, and I'm going to talk about the topic of this presentation, which is the Cold War. The Cold War was a political, ideological, social, and cultural confrontation that took place between 1945 and 1989 between two blocs of countries led by the United States of America and the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. The axis of the conflict developed around the two superpowers that emerged from the Second World War, where the United States was the leader of the Western Bloc made up of the capitalist European countries. They defended capitalism as an economic system and liberal democracy as a political system. On the other hand, the Soviet Union headed the so-called Eastern Bloc, made up of the areas under occupation by the Red Army and the other communism armed forces. They defended communism as an economic system and popular democracy as a political system. Here you can appreciate a timeline of what I consider important dates during the Cold War. Beginning at the age of 1948, the Berlin Airlift was created when the US blocked the Occidental Berlin by cutting supplies. Then the Korean War that started in 1950 and ended in 1953. Afterwards, the Soviet invasion of Hungary in 1956 due to the gigantic tanks that were sent to Budapest during a popular revolt against the URSS. Then, in 1962, the missile crisis in Cuba. Later, the space race was initiated in 1955 and ended in 1972 when the two world powers were looking for ways to show who could have the most access to space and technology, providing Apollo, Sputnik, and the first man on the moon. And finally, the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, causing the end of the Cold War. It was called the Cold War because there was never a direct armed conflict between these two powers. If not, rather, it was a war to see who could achieve a greater extension of their ideology. How each economic system works. First of all, socialism is a theory or system of social organization based on the exploration of the majority of the common goods, with property attributed to the workers. Under socialism, the states control the economy and is responsible for reducing social inequality through programs that benefit the poor. The main defenders and progressors are Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, and Lenin. On the other hand, capitalism is also a theory or system of social organization based on the free market and privatization, where ownership is attributed to individual persons. The capitalism system defends economic freedom, consumer choice, and economic growth. Among the main defenders are Richard Candelon and Adam Smith. To get more informed about the topic, I consulted my grandmother for first-hand information in an interview with the following questions. Question number 1. What countries were the world leaders during this period? It was Russia and the United States who ruled the world in all aspects. Question number 2. Why did countries who were allies during the wars become enemies afterwards? Realizing that their common enemy was fading or eradicating, their opposite belief systems in how they should govern changed during the separation of Europe into small groups, creating rivalry. Question number 3. Where did the Cold War took place? For what I know, in Vietnam, USA, Russia, Cuba, Korea, and Latin America. Question number 4. What opinion did the general public have of the Cold War? Many people consider that the Cold War was never really cold, since millions of people died in proxy conflicts without the world powers having to lift a finger, causing the regions of the world, especially Asians, to generate a very hot war. Question number 5. What type of weapons did the two world powers have at their disposal? The AK-47, a rifle I believe named FN FAL, fighter bombers, tanks, and etc. Regarding what was previously discussed, we can conclude that the Cold War was a liberation of a subsequent war, meaning an imaginary World War III. Carrying with the consequences of the previous wars, the world needed to declare who or how they should govern. I prefer that the Cold War was indirectly manifested due to the purpose of this war being simply ideological, but they interplay on different parts, causing other countries to get affected due to the separation of states. As for the economic systems, it's more fair and condescending a capitalist system than a socialist one. Socialism, in my point of view, aspires to be more interested in themselves than the whole population. Eventually, these differences led to the permanent dissolution of the former Allies and the eradication of the Soviet Union. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it.